तत्परं पर्याय विद्महे ज्ञानलिङ्गेश्वराय धीमहि तन्नो गुरुः प्रचोदयात्। ओम योग महर्षि डॉक्टर स्वामी गीतानंद गिरि गुरु महाराज की जय। Welcome to the 11th session. I had some confusion yesterday, but then I checked the numbers, and yes, this is our 11th session on the spine and yoga. And the more we explore it, the more we realize this Brahma Danda, which is the spine, is something that we really need to take care of. We cannot be careless about it. And we have seen how there are the vertebrae, and we have seen, how we try to make sure that everything is working harmoniously. We have looked at mind-body harmony. And one aspect which we haven't touched too much is the subtle anatomy, the yogic anatomy of the spine. And I was keeping this definitely towards the end because as I was talking of the Brahma Mudra yesterday, when your neck is healthy, what happens is that the neck is the bridge between your head and the rest of the body. It sounds very basic, but yes, we need to remind ourselves of that. And the neck is part of the spine, which again people forget a lot, which is why in one of my early sessions I said that if somebody comes to me with a lower back problem, we start to work on the neck also. And if they come with a neck problem, we start to work with the lower back also, because they are so connected that if you do not take care of the other, this problem is going to lead to another problem anyway in the future. So better start working on both sides, both ends of the spine basically. But what this neck has is the spinal cord, and through the spinal cord and the 31 pairs of spinal nerves, what is happening is all the sensations from your body, every sensation from your body gets to the brain, which is your central processing unit, and the sensation has to come, the sensory afferent, afferent means a nerve that is coming towards. So what is happening is that the sensory afferents, the sensory impulses need to come from the whole body, every nook and corner of your body, and they have to reach the brain where they are processed. Now there's a part of the brain right here. If you were to place your hands, just this is your ears. Hopefully you have 2 ears. Yes, you can see mine. Yeah, I have them. So bring your hand just above it, so that it's like the base of your hand is on your ear, and you place your hands on your head. This is basically the area, if you want to just have an idea, because you see it in diagrams, and it's tough to relate to that diagram because you don't think it is you, okay? But when I teach it this way, you really know it's you, okay? Because you are putting your hands on your head. Now, your hands are here. Now imagine these 2 fingers. This is a very beautiful mudra showing deer or animals. Simha Mukha, we call it in dance. Simha Mukha, it's the animal. It looks like a cute little deer. Can't you see 2 little deer there coming on the screen? Yeah. These 2 fingers. Okay. So you have your hands with the base of your wrist basically at the ear, and those 2 fingers, the center 2 fingers. Okay, just be aware of where they are. Right? You got it? Be a bit more aware. Now go in through your thick skull. Yeah, we all have that thick skull. Just go in through that and visualize where that area is in your brain. Got it? Yeah. That is basically your sensory motor cortex. Okay? So whenever somebody talks about sensory motor cortex, don't think that, you don't have to know it because you're not a medical scientist. If you are in yoga, you better know these things because this is a very, very important part of who we are. The sensory motor cortex. Somatosensory cortex is another way they refer to it. And we have something called the homunculus there. Okay, this homunculus I may take up as one of my topics over the next few days. Yeah? There's just so much to learn. So much to learn. I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of being alive. There's so much to learn. Anyway, your sensory motor cortex. Just remember in the back. So the one on the back. So you had these two fingers. This was the finger on the front. This was in the back. Okay. So the finger in the back is your sensory part. Finger in the front is the motor part. Okay. So when you place here, the finger on the back is the sensory. The finger on the front is the motor. Now this is the same thing in your spinal cord. If you were to cut your spinal cord, and please don't do it, there are enough dead people and there are enough specimens in museums where you can see this. You do not have to cut your spinal cord to know this, okay? But if you were to slice through the spinal cord, you end up with this funny structure like this. It's a weird structure. When you first see it, you're like, what is this? Then after some time, you get used to it. And in that, you will find that you have the sensory nerves coming into the back of the spinal cord and the motor nerves coming out the front. So the same principle in your spinal cord and in your brain, because they are all one and the same. They are the nervous system, remember? They are not different. They are one and the same. So the sensation has to come in the back and the motor comes out the front. Sensation comes in the back, motor is in the front. Sensation, so it's basically somebody has to kick you in your back and you move forward, okay? Punch you in the back and you move forward. It's something like that. So I always used to remember that way. You have to be kicked in the back to move forward. So you have the sensory nerves coming in, the afferent. Afferent means to come towards. And the motor nerves are going out at each spinal level. Those are the efferent, E. Okay, so A is coming in, it is a sensation, and E is going out, going externally. Okay, if you want to remember that in the mind. Externalization is the motor response. Internalization, afferent is coming in, efferent is going out. And this is happening at the spinal level. This is the reflex arc. And these reflexes at the spinal level, so somebody taps your patellar tendon, which is, just at around here. If you feel your patella here, just below that you have that. And if you were to tap this with a soft hammer or even with the hand sometimes with the side of the arm, give it a chop, the knee reflex comes in, the knee jerk reflex. This is one of the tests to make sure that your nervous system is working. You have it at the ankle. It's a very interesting one at the ankle one, and this is especially important in people who have neuropathies, where the nerves have got damaged and are not functioning properly. What we have seen in some of our research at JIPMER, when we were doing research there on people who had diabetes for a long time and had neuropathy, they lose this reflex at the ankle jerk. And there's something called a J reflex, J as in the letter J, neurophysiologically. And what actually happened is that in that study, 2 of the patients who had lost it actually regained it over that period of around 12 weeks of yoga therapy with the medical management. What we call adjuvant yoga therapy or integrative yoga therapy or collaborative yoga therapy, depending on what perspective you have. Coming back. So the sensations are coming in, the motor impulses are going out. So here in your sensory motor cortex also, all the sensations in your body come up to the sensory cortex. And this sensory cortex is mapped according to your body part. So you have an entire map of you in your brain. One sensory map, one motor map on the right, one sensory map and one motor map on the left. So there are 4 creatures hanging in your brain. They are called the homunculus. Homunculus means like a human being. And when I was doing my studies, all we had were textbooks and images to look at it in 2 dimensions. And I still remember going with Lata, Vijaya, and Jnana Sundari, and Kathy, and all. And we went to the museum in Berlin. And they have a beautiful natural museum. And I remember seeing for the first time a three-dimensional depiction of the homunculus. Now these are very available on the net and all that. When I was doing my medical training, the net didn't exist for us. So it was only the books. So now on the net, you get these amazing images. You can see three-dimensional. Type the word homunculus, Homonculus, and it will give you the sensory motor homunculus, which is a funny looking creature because it has a big head, a big tongue, and big hands. And the feet are also quite long. The rest of the body is sort of as if it's been dwarfed. And this is it, that is why the homunculus is not an exact representation. It is a representation based on the innervation and innervation of the nerves. So because your hands and your face have the requirement for more sensation, they are heavily populated with the nerves. So the face and the hands appear bigger in the homunculus. The thorax doesn't have so much of sensory information required, so it is smaller. So whichever part of you has less sensory need is smaller. The parts that need to have more sensation, those parts are going to be more vividly expressed in the homunculus. So the homunculus is a representation not of exactly what you are, but how much of the sensory inputs you need for those parts. So the face is very big, the hands are very big, because our sensations, we need great sensation. Same thing with the motor homunculus is, again, it is disproportionate to your body, in that in the trunk, again, there's not going to be much. So you have this small trunk, thin legs, but large hands, and again the tongue especially, because we as a species talk too much. So the tongue is huge. So the tongue is a big one, and the face is, again, we have a lot of expression with the face, which is one of the things we lose as the neurological diseases come in. We lose facial expression. And that is why the muscles of the face, the motor function is represented so greatly in the homunculus. So sensory motor homunculi, which are there on either side, right and left of your cortex, they are receiving. So the sensory cortex receives all the impulse from the body through the spinal cord. It comes up through the neck and comes to the sensory cortex, where you get the sensation that part there's a sensation. This goes through different parts of the brain so that you know what is the sensation. It's like if a thorn pricks your feet. Now I made a wrong statement there. A thorn doesn't jump out and prick you. You go and stamp on the thorn. And that is another message that we need to understand, is often the problems are just there. We go and put our feet on them. In Tamil, there is a very beautiful proverb, Paramari, which says, Summa kidanda sanga, udi kidata andi. And I've heard this a lot from some very near and dear ones in my life. Summa kidanda sanga, udi kidata andi. Basically, there is a conch which is just lying there. The guy goes and blows it and gets into trouble because no one knows he's there, and he decides to try blowing that conch. And you blow a conch and you have just exposed yourself to everyone. So it's sort of, doing things that are not needed. That is a statement we say. So, most of the time the thorns are just there, but we go and put our feet on the thorn and then we say the thorn pricked me. No, you pricked yourself on that thorn, okay? But anyway, it's very difficult. It's like often I get really, really irritated when I see young kids who fall down. And then, you have the parents or the elders who are on there beating the floor, naughty floor, naughty floor. And I'm like, it's not the floor. The floor was just there. It's the kid who was not careful and fell down. The kid needs to learn responsibility, not the floor. The floor is just doing its dharma of being a good floor. So I think we have to think about that a bit. But say you got pricked by a thorn, or you pricked yourself on a thorn in your toe, this big toe. You know this big toe? Yeah, that big toe. So what happens is that the impulse travels up the nerves of the feet, comes to the spinal cord, travels up to the sensory area of your brain. Okay, it travels up to the sensory area of your brain. And now that area of your brain gets stimulated, the toe area. That is how the brain knows that something has pricked the big toe. Now the thing is, it has to go to different associated parts of your brain, which then determine, is it a thorn or is it a snake? Or is it a leaf? Or is it a piece of ice? Now that is all that learned memory comes in, and the associative areas tell you, and you respond appropriately. Now that response part starts from the motor cortex. So all this information has gone up through the spinal cord to your brain, sensory cortex. It has been processed, and the motor response now comes down. This is the efferent, E part. The efferent comes going away externally, and it goes down to that spinal level, that spinal nerve, and it goes to the toe, and it says, lift your toe up. And you lift your toe up. Now already you may have lifted your toe because the spinal reflex level would have already made you lift your toe up, and this sort of adds to it. This all happens in milliseconds. Okay, this is not like I'm talking about it slowly. I'm talking about it slowly, but it happens so fast you don't even think about it. It's like much faster than the blink of an eye. Okay, so you don't even know the gap how it has happened. So what is happening? All the sensory impulses come to the brain. All the motor impulses from the brain go to the body through the neck. That is why the Brahma Mudra is so important. Now, along with this spinal cord is a physical representation of the energy flow, because our nadis in the yogic subtle anatomy and physiology, the subtle anatomy and physiology of the nadis, what it does is that it enables us to understand that we are not just the physical body. Okay, so anything in your body where there is a flow, anything in your body where there is a flow. So what are the things that are flowing? Well, the nerves have the nerve impulse flowing to and fro, afferent and efferent. You have the blood vessels, the arteries and the veins and the capillaries, and you have the lymphatics. These are the most important physical representations where flow is occurring, and this flow is occurring through these channels, which are the physical representation, the physical correlation to what we call in yoga as the subtle nadi. These are not the nadis, but these are the physical representation. The nadis exist in the pranamaya kosha and beyond, because they are subtle. You do not see a nadi, but you can perceive the flow of energy in the nadi. The prana, when it flows in the nadi, you can perceive its effects. It's like you can see my hair moving and you know that it's windy out here. Okay? Same type of thing here. You can see the lights are on, the fan is running, so you know that you have electricity. So it is an inference, what we call anumana. Pramana, anumana, pratyaksha, anumana, agama. So it is not a pratyaksha, which is a direct perception. It is a anumana, which is inference. So you have inferred. So when you have a healthy nerve conduction, when you have healthy arterial and venous circulation, when you have healthy lymphatic circulation, you know that your nadis are working in a healthy manner. This is the inference. And if there is a blockage at the physical, it means that they are not being able to work properly. You have to create an unblocking. That is where the concept of Shuddhi comes in, Nadi Shuddhi, Nadi Shodhana, which we have been working on. So the nadis, and there may be 72,000, there may be 729,000, whatever be it. These nadis are the subtle energy channels. They are not physical. But their correlation, representation exists in our Annamaya Kosha, because all the koshas are not separate. You learn about them separately, but they are all in the same place at the same time. And this is why I talk about the cellular Panchakosha. Because people think the Panchakosha is outside. You have to realize every cell in your body, those trillions of cells, has a Panchakosha. And if you realize that, the concept will come alive to you. Because if you think the koshas are outside you, you are going to be in a, it's going to be a problem. They are all in the same place at the same time. So it is just we are trying to understand them by separating them. The separation is only for the sake of learning. They are not separate, they are one. So these nadi flows which are there are represented in the spinal cord. This spinal cord, in the center of it, has what is called the central canal. Canalis centralis. Central canal is the simple way. Canalis centralis is the technical name. And this canalis centralis is related to the subtle energy channel called the Sushumna Nadi. Suru Munai is the Tamil version of it in our Siddha tradition. Sushumna. The Sushumna is the subtle energy channel which is at the center of your existence, and this is physically correlated with the canalis centralis. It is not the canalis centralis, but it is physically correlated with it. You know, often people ask me, they say, if the Vishuddha chakra is the thyroid, if I remove my thyroid, have I removed Vishuddha chakra? No, Vishuddha chakra still exists, but the physical correlate has been removed. Hence, the energies of the Vishuddha may not be able to flow as they must flow, because the energies need to flow through a structure. It is like the teachings have to come through a teacher. So the teachings are there. The teacher is the vehicle through which they come. So the physical correlation is only the vehicle. It is like the radio through which the voice is heard. The voice is not in the radio. It is the television set through which the image is seen. That person in the television set is not in the television set. Okay. So the television set, the computer, the radio, the teacher, the human being, we are only the vehicle through which these impulses are being transmitted. The problem is when we think we are the transmitter. The problem is when we think I am the doer. Okay, fine. Pride comes before fall. Right? There's a lot about that. And I don't know. I wish we human beings would again and again remind ourselves we are only custodians, caretakers. We are not owners of anything. And this thing where we think we are the big boss, I think that's where the whole problem starts. The moment you realize you are just the caretaker and that you are the vehicle, there's a beautiful sense of humility that comes in. And humility is a sign of greatness. For me, I think that one of the telltale signs of greatness is humility. And the ability to laugh at oneself and the ability to share without expectation. Now you share without expectation and things come. Okay, I'll tell you, I've just the last 2 days again experienced a lot of that lesson. And it's quite amazing actually. Someday I'll talk about that. So when we are talking about the spinal cord and the health of the spine, it is not only physical health. It is to enhance the flow of the energy so that the energies can flow through us. Because if physically we are creating blocks, there are going to be psychic blocks also. And energy cannot flow. That is why a healthy spine is not just so that you can walk around better or sit longer or lift weights better. It is so that the energy can flow through you in a more harmonious, seamless manner. Because these are the energies of the nadis. And these are the energies that then come together in vortices, which are called the chakras. And we will start looking a bit at these concepts, not in too much detail because certain concepts are shared in certain ways. And it's not holding back information, but certain information is to be shared in a very different way. But still, as much as I can share, I will share in this things that are safe and things that are valuable. So when we do Brahma Mudra, it's not just for the neck. When we do Vyagra Pranayama, it's not just for the neck. When you give a good healthy stretch, when you do the Manduka, when you do the Gomukha, when you do a health, beautiful cracks there. When you do all of this, it is not just for the physical health. It is to enable the energies to flow because we are an energy being. Never forget that. We are an energy being. So I will continue with this as we go on. We haven't had too much of practice today, but I wanted to share these concepts because we need to know these concepts if we are to understand how the yoga practices are working. Okay? Because people like to think that yoga practices work in mysterious ways. Yes, they are mysterious because you haven't opened yourself to it. Once you open yourself up to it, all these practices, they open up to you. Yeah? See, the practices have to feel safe with you. The concepts of yoga have to feel safe with you, that you will not misuse it, abuse it, or disuse it. Then it opens up to you. So when we are doing these practices of spinal health, they are not just for physical spinal health. They are to enhance the potentiality of the energies to flow, the nadis to work properly, the chakric energies to flow properly. And that is when we truly become what we are to be. So just be the best you. Have a wonderful day wherever you are, a wonderful night. And see you all tomorrow. We continue this. And I must say, I've been enjoying wonderful times with my Yoga Sutra Saptaham. And already I'm thinking what next, and because it's just such a beautiful way to share and to have my dear yoga family from all around the world. I don't think we could have ever got all of these people together in one class. We could never have got them together physically in one class. That would have just burned so much of carbon on this planet. And yet, thanks to COVID-19, thanks to the lockdown, it's interesting. Thanks to this, we actually have come closer together in many ways. And all my Canadian yoga family, my European yoga family, my yoga family down under, my Kiwi yoga family, my South American, South African yoga family, and my beautiful Indian yoga family from all across India, all have come together in one place at one time. Isn't that amazing? When I was looking at the screen yesterday, I had tears in my eyes that what a beautiful way for all of us to come together. And people who are new to yoga, people who have been 50 years in yoga, and all of us together in one place, sharing the beautiful teachings of yoga. I think this is just so amazing that more and more I'm starting to value what we have in the present moment. Let's value it, because it is just amazing. Have a nice time.